Today is November 17th, 2023. When I was young, uh, and when I immigrated to the United States and became a U.S. citizen, but I became a U.S. citizen many, many years after I came to the U.S., as I lived in the U.S. with a green card. That was 42 years ago. And when I was living in my foreign country, there was no TV for me to watch. But in America, TV was cheap and plentiful, and the programs were free. So I used to enjoy this TV series called Mutual of Omaha Insurance Company, and they featured a wildlife show. So in it, there would be animals living their life cycles, being eaten and eating, essentially, eating, sleeping, and reproducing to perpetuate itself throughout life. And every type of animal is featured. And what I discovered is that apparently there's going to be a movie called Madam Web. There's a movie called Madam Web. So there is a apparently it's about a woman who apparently has the spider sense, and she has the sixth sense where she understands what's going to happen in the future. She knows with a high probability that when certain events occur, that after a certain period of time, something will occur. Okay? And that's Madam Web. Then I started thinking, okay, so that's Madam Web, and spiders weave a web. Okay, spiders weave a web. Okay, spiders. When I entered this building, there used to be a web of spiders on a fob area where I would touch in order to enter the building, and so there would be like spider webs everywhere. Now they cleaned it up. So the reason why the spider web is there is it's intricately patterned so that it creates a web that is obstructing from one side to the other side in certain areas, such that the air and wind can flow. However, there will be sticky nodules that are attached to this web that causes whatever passes through to be caught in its stickiness. And so the harder this foreign matter resists, it gets stickier and stickier and stickier. And but if something like myself, which is reached a critical mass where my movement is beyond the strength of the spider web, I can tear the spider web. But for a vast majority, what happens is that the spider web will catch that creature onto the web, and then the spider is actually somewhere else waiting, and its arm, which its leg, is touching the web to see if there's any sense that says that something's struggling. Then the spider will carefully move towards that victim and start to wrap itself and inject something into it so that it could emulsify, so that it can suck out the innards. That's what it does. Okay, so now the spider, what the spider will do is it'll carefully construct vertical lines, horizontal lines, and it'll put key points in certain areas to say, okay, so if somebody touches that point, it's going to attach itself, and then it's going to keep it there. That's what is meant. Now, I've talked about the animal kingdom, but How is that related to day trading? Now, this is where I get goosebumps. I don't know. I believe goosebumps is transported to the other side. And so if I see this again, I should be able to experience this goosebumps in the connections that I will make. The connection that I make with this, which I found very interesting, is that cheetahs will run after its victim, okay? But what it will do is it'll see it, and then it'll anticipate what it's going to do, and it'll move slower, closer, 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 closer. And then when it realizes that it has entered into an envelope upon which, however fast that animal moves, it is able to capture it based on its speed. And so when it entered into that sphere of capture area, then it has a higher probability of capturing that pronghorn. Okay, that is why at the onset, when that envelope is on the outside, then it moves slow. It creeps up until it reaches a point where it entered into the envelope of where the cheetah is able to capture that animal. Now the leopards, what the leopard will do is the leopard will hide and wait, keep a low profile. And then what it will do, it'll just jump off the tree right on top of the pronghorn, and then just bite into it, and right on into its jugular. Okay, so it also waits. It goes and waits. Now the lions, what they will do is they'll also do a very similar thing. They'll creep up. They're surrounded. They work in a team, and what they will do is they know, after having some experience, it's amazing how experienced they are. But these water buffaloes have big horns, and it is very dangerous to capture one of these. And so what they do is they also wait. They go to an area. They go to the area, okay? That's why. Now, here's what where the connection comes in. SMB Capital says, look for a stimulus, just like a lion, where the stimulation is, where the action is, and they go to it. They surround it. So the person has to create a confluence, okay? Which way is the wind coming, okay? And how many other water buffaloes are there? So lay of the land is being understood based on the S&P Capital understanding of how to go and look into making the trade, and which one is the optimal one. So there is a daily watch list that they have, right? I've seen many of their videos. So that's how the S&P Capital does. Now, there's another statement that professional day traders talk about, and I was unable to make this connection between the physical world that I have and the world that they live in, which is they know how to make money consistently. I don't. And so how do I get there? So they made this point that they only trade usually in a case where they see a certain setup. Okay? So it's like a jaguar. When a certain situation is set up, they pounce on it. And then if it moves in their direction, it's great. If it doesn't, then it doesn't. But statistically speaking, when it's an A+ setup, generally speaking, they're going to have a higher percentage of wins versus losses, because the A+ setup is graded that way based on the efficacy of that particular setup. And so when they say the game, trading game is about waiting, essentially that's exactly what it is. The spider waits, the cheetah waits and moves towards it, waits before pouncing and speeding, okay? Slowly creeping in. A jaguar waits on top of the tree and waits on top of a ledge before it pounces on that caiman. And that's how it works. Trading is essentially very, very similar to a concept called the world of the animal kingdom. Essentially, it is the animal kingdom of the most important thing is looking at a particular situation, which I can map out on a day trading basis to understand how that works. Is that, okay, what's the previous day's high? What's the previous day's low? What is the previous day's close? What is today's open? Okay? And when the trend is moving, how is it creating a trend? And what are the candlesticks formation charting? Is it charting a consistent formation of wide distribution of a channel within that range within that channel? Or how is the situation set up? Okay, how is that QQQ moving? How is, generally speaking, how is the indice moving? Is it a really red day, which means that certain situations with certain setups will perform far better? That means, as a human being in the market of Wall Street, two words, which is very similar to Animal Kingdom, right? So, as a job of a day trader is to figure out the lay of the land, get close enough, pounce when that particular situation occurs. And that's why trading should be a very boring situation, because I've already done the work. And when it moves into this situation, generally speaking, the efficacy of my trading results will be essentially, even if it's a loss, the loss is predictable and manageable. And that's why it's under the radar, the envelope of being in a boring situation. But there will be some excitements when a particular trade goes extremely on the good side,